The RuneScape economy is going down the drain right now, and today's video is going to look at everything that you probably need to know about the current economy, why it's all changing because of the new game mode, and what is this new game mode going to do when all of the items get flooded onto the main game after it kind of joins in one. Well, today's video hopefully answers that question, and hopefully isn't too bad when it does eventually come. Of course, if you have your own opinions, I'm really interested to see what you guys think, because I can only take my own view on things, but it's really important that we all think about this in terms of what is good for investing, where to best spend your money, and how you can avoid losing the most amount of money if you do play on RuneScape, the main game, and not Fresh Worlds in essence at the moment. So, as you can see, a good indicator as to the market is always the bonds market. And you can see here, they have been going crazy in the last kind of few months. In fact, the last 6 months, they've 1.5 times, so 150% up. So if you bought bonds 6 months ago, you're quids in at this point. But at the moment, however, the trend seems to be going down, and you can probably think about that in essence because people aren't using the bonds to sell them on the actual RuneScape 3 main game. In fact, they're probably looking to spend them elsewhere on the Fresh Start Worlds events, and hence why you've seen a drop by nearly 4 million to 5 million within the last few days. And although it's made a small recovery, I don't know whether this will continue to drop, and we'll see in the next few days. And of course, if you're watching this in the future, you'll also see some additional data and see if it is continued to drop or whether it's just a small blip. Of course, we've seen drops like this before within a few days, but of course they did rise right back up. So it'd be interesting to see how this actually continues, and whether this is more of a long-term gradual decline that we can expect. Of course, you can see the trend here, and it's kind of reached its peak at late September in the 29th, and it's dropped down to 61 mil apparently on average. So that is not looking good for the bond market, but has this actually translated over into other items within RuneScape 3? Well, I can already answer that very quickly, and that is yes. So these are, of course, the higher tier items within the game. For example, we'll look first at the noxious items, because they're pretty stable usually, and they don't go absolutely nuts other than during this period of time, where obviously they went a little bit crazy. But in the last kind of 6 months, they stayed pretty stable, then they shot up, and now you're seeing them go back down. And over the last month, we've actually seen within, in fact, the last week, them drop by almost 10 mil GP, which is mad. And you can see it here, 9.7 mil down. And this is probably going to continue as the game develops and people are trying to get knock staffs on the Fresh Start Worlds as opposed to actually on the main game. And you can expect that with pretty much every single item on this game. You can see here the Noxious Scythe also dropping by about 6 mil, something in that region, and just made a small recovery back up, but it's kind of too early to say whether this will continue on the noxious items. But you might be thinking, that's high tier items, of course they're going to go down, but what about some of the mid tier items? Well, you can see here, the Wand of the Kaiwa Elders has also been going down on a pretty gradual kind of line. You can see it. I'm not surprised, it's been in this trend anyway, but you can see it's kind of continuing on that. We've also then got Fleeting Boots, you can see also coming down after the announcements of Fresh Start Worlds in the beginning of it. Probably will continue to go down. Things even like the Zarite Bow just continually dropping as people begin playing the game less and less. Even some of the higher tier items like the Abyssal Scourge and stuff like that also continuing to drop, in fact rapidly dropping over the last week or so, and the last month. And of course that's no surprise with the kind of the hype about Fresh Start Worlds and everyone jumping onto that and trying to figure out the economy on that and work out their own ways of making money, which is having a knock-on impact to the actual items within RuneScape. But these are all gear items. These are all items that are typically very expensive for the majority of players. But how is the market actually impacting some of the traditional items within the game? So even in the last few days, we've seen items like the Blood Rune also drop by about 10%, and you can see that across the board. We can literally find random things that are just probably dropping like flies, and you can see probably with the energies maybe, we'll see, have a look, is incandescent energy, has that actually changed? Yes, continually on the downtrend, and we're seeing this with everything across the board, and there are so many price falls. There's been very little rises. You can see there's a ton of items, and they're all pretty standard items as well. A lot of the training items, things like raw shark, all of the standard materials, that sort of thing, they're all dropping. And you can even see binding contracts becoming almost useless and pointless to actually make within the game. Of course, they do rise at double XP, hence why they're always so high in these regions here during the double XP weekends and stuff like that, and then been slowly and gradually getting lower and lower. Of course, they will probably rise back up again. They always go up by about 50% roughly off the top of my head. So you always see them drop to about 60k, 50k, somewhere in that region, and then they skyrocket back up to 90 to 100k afterwards. But yeah, it's not looking good. So I guess we'll take the later half of this video to talk more about how RuneScape's economy is going to change after the release of all of the kind of main things that we've been seeing with RuneScape Fresh Start Worlds. Of course, the Fresh Start Worlds economy is separate from the main game, which is what's driving a lot of players away from playing traditionally on this mode. And although when Fresh Start does eventually get dropped, the surge in amount of items that are going to be dropped onto this GE comparatively to the old one is going to be massive, and you're going to probably see huge price fluctuations, and it's going to go crazy. And I am very much hesitant as to whether to spend my liquid GP on items or whether to hold off. I guess at the minute I'm going to hold off. I'm not going to buy anything yet, and then we'll buy slowly as it gets closer and closer to the time where the Fresh Start Worlds is going to get dropped onto the market. Might hold off, not entirely sure. We'll gauge the market as it comes, but I did want to give you a good little indication as to where it's going, what the downtrend is potentially going to happen, and how you can maybe avoid some of the problems that you're going to have. One thing that I would do, I mean, if you are going to be playing Fresh Start Worlds, I wouldn't blame you if you did start selling off some of your higher tier gear. It's never best to sell during the kind of panic when everyone's selling off all of their gear. I'm not telling you to do that, but if you are thinking about maybe not playing the main game for, I don't know, a few months because you're going to be focusing on other things, whether that's actually Fresh Start Worlds or you're just going to give RuneScape a break, it's probably not a bad idea to sell your gear and then you be done with it for the minute, and then you'll be liquid for when you come back to the game, because I very much doubt that a lot of these high tier items are going to go flying until Fresh Start World accounts start getting dropped onto the main game, at which maybe the price of some of the abilities, so for example Corruption Blast and the Mazcab ability codex, we could probably have a look at here, and you can see here 47.2 mil at the minute, and it's dropped massively. And as soon as Fresh Start Worlds get dropped onto the live server, I think that this is going to go absolutely crazy, and we're going to see it spike up again, much like here. I think that this is probably very likely, because as soon as all of the accounts get dropped on, and there's a lot more of these around in the main game compared to the actual the Fresh Start Worlds accounts, because there's just not as many players being able to get the drops to be able to then fund all of the brand new accounts that haven't got any of the abilities, and I think we'll see that eventually, and this will definitely go up, I think, in value, in my personal opinion. Obviously I could be completely wrong, so don't blame me. I'm not telling you should go out and buy it, but I don't see why it wouldn't go up eventually. So yeah, I'm interested to see where the market's going to go from here. Of course, your opinions and comments in the comment section down below are going to be really, really vital for everyone to get a good gist of how you're feeling as a player, and also how you think other people are going to feel with the release of Fresh Start Worlds. Is this the beginning of the end for the high expensive items? Are we going to see things like party hats start actually coming down in price? I'm not entirely sure, but it'll be interesting, especially with the influx of new GP created on Fresh Start Worlds, because essentially all of that GP is locked at the minute. As soon as it gets released, it's going to be flooded onto the market, and we're going to see that with all of this. So all at once as well, that's usually when things go crazy. So yeah, fingers crossed it's not all too bad. But that is the market. I want to make you guys aware that the market is kind of crashing at the minute between all of the different game modes. And yeah, hopefully you're not going to get caught out by this. But yeah, let me know what you think of everything. Of course, if you want to watch a brand new series that I've got going on the channel regarding Fresh Start Worlds and creating a new account that's going to be able to earn me a ton of money, we're going to showcase money making methods that you can use on that game mode, as well as we'll be doing our traditional guides and videos like this for the main game on top of that. So just stay tuned. There's going to be loads of content coming out on RuneScape. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoy. Of course, if you aren't already, please subscribe because it massively helps out the channel. And of course, like the video if you did. If you hate it, dislike the video. Of course, your feedback is always really, really greatly appreciated. And thank you once again for watching the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.